Okay, calling meeting in order. It's 7:01. Roll call.
Day present.
Parker here. Bouchard here. Minutes of June 11th.
Never read them.
You never read. Okay.
You weren't here anyway, so you.
Yeah.
Never read them.
I make a motion to accept them. I've
Okay.
read them.
All right, but Andy, it doesn't show our 60-day limit. It's not written down on the minutes.
I can put that.
It was just an oversight. Did you
I did not pick up on that.
agree that we should have that in the minutes? That's the only thing I found wrong with the minutes.
I didn't pick up on it.
Or was it in my mind? I thought we agreed that we have a 60-minute,
That was,
60
that was what you agreed on.
a 60-day.
Yeah.
All right,
60 days.
so they had to get back to us in 60 days and they had to do the work with it.
Oh, good call. I did not pick up on that.
Yeah.
So I would like to amend the minutes
Okay, I'll second that.
that from what we spoke of, they had 60 days.
Right,
Work with Sue on the language.
okay,
I'll work with Sue.
All right, thank
all
you.
right. And
Thank you, Blaine. I totally zoned on that.
so other than that, I find these minutes fine.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know how you want.
Why don't you make a motion, why don't you vote, and then.
I make a motion to accept them with the change of West Sterling T-ball field had 60 days to comply.
I second.
All in favor? Oh,
I,
sorry.
yeah,
That's your-
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Boy, I'm glad I wasn't here.
Yeah. No, it's fine. All right. Public session. Doesn't look like anybody's here.
Blame them.
You have anything? I just give
We got all we need with Mr. Mackey.
Mr. Mackey, you have nothing to add? Nothing to add? I would add that there was, as an FYI, there was a select board meeting at 5 o'clock today that I didn't realize, and they appointed the building committee members, of which I'm one,
Yeah.
you know? But they didn't ask me to attend, so I didn't even know about it until 6 o'clock. So I was too late. All right. So that's the only public session. Number 4, year-end budget.
Great, guys. So, what you have in your packet, we come to the close of another fiscal year, is, I'll call them the final budget numbers, final enough for FY24. Essentially, it's from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And it just kind of shows where we fell in that budget. Overall, that first page you have is DPW. Very happy with that, 98.6%. We were comfortable. We were able to pick up a couple things towards the end that, we kind of have a running wish list that goes on throughout the year. We see where we stand. We got everything done that we wanted to get done with the budget that we were allocated. So on the DPW side, I'm pretty happy with that. The water report on the back page of that, for some reason, printed funny. I don't know why. Only focus on the lines that have numbers in them. There's lots of lines that have zeros. Yeah, focus on the ones with the numbers. So you'll notice it has a lot of old line items from before we changed our, kind of setup. So, but overall, 91.3%. I mean, if you remember, not last fiscal, the fiscal before, we were really close. Mostly like electricity and chemicals had gone way up, and those hadn't quite been reflected in the budget. So this year, really happy with that. That 38,000 goes right back into our retained earnings. For water, it stays in the water fund. That's good.
It's wonderful.
And then on the last page, again, it kind of printed funny, but focus under where it says expense. There's 3 items. So we call our other expenses. Streetlights, trash, recycling, and then regional recycling, which we pay out of grant funds for the time being. All in all, some of these are dependent on electricity prices, obviously for that, and then it's totally dependent on tonnage for trash. Over the course of a year, in it's almost $700,000 budget, I'm really happy with where we came out. It's hard to estimate some of that stuff. We do our best to estimate it, but again, it's all based on the tonnage. So last year we were significantly more over. This year we were much more in that ballpark.
Nice.
So do you think that for the upcoming year that we should be upping our budget numbers for waste? It's
It's
a
gonna have
crap
to
shoot.
go up a little bit.
Yeah.
Every year, it goes up 4%.
Yeah.
So the budget that we're in right now reflects that. It went up 4%. And then we are constantly analyzing the amount of tons that we're, picking up. And the more we do this system, the more data we have, and we can kind of refine it on here's how many tons we expect to pick up over a given year on average.
And maybe they'll start giving us recycling dividends again as the recycling market goes up. I think
Yeah.
that's probably a biggest issue.
If we could get back to where it was pre this contract, for where recycling was, I mean, we'd be doing, we wouldn't have the $29,000 overage, let's put it that way. When I budget for trash recycling, we assume no credit because we can't assume a credit. A credit would be a benefit, let's put it that way. And that's kind of, with what we've been doing, that's kind of the way to look at it.
Okay. You guys have any questions on the budget?
I have a statement to make, not a question. I have a statement. I'm gonna go back to the first page.
Yep.
On tools.
Yep.
And I understand that 227.6% is a very scary number. However, in talking to some of your employees, what they could use, what they think they need, a lot of it's a wish list. I understand that. We wish we had this, we wish we had that, so on that. However, there are certain things that I think we should have that pay for themselves very quickly. That 227.6% is very scary. However, I honestly think that we're undertooled in this building as far as mechanical tools go. We're getting there, and I understand that you're getting them, you're working on them, but I just want to make a point that you have to take into consideration how much they'll be used, what's cost versus effort. However, if you don't have the tools, you can't do the job. And listen, I have no issue. Your guys borrow stuff from me all the time, and I have no issue with that. But it's minuscule stuff added up over time. You will never get a complaint from me for buying tools. Buy it. To a point, don't get silly. But I just wanted to make that statement.
And to add to that, you need to step up with the times. There's tools down there that Hector had when he was a pup. I mean, we need to look into the safety issues of some of the old tools too. I mean, I know there's tools down there that I've seen for a long time, so.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And he's right. I mean, when you get up borrows tools
And I
that
have
you
no
use
issue with that.
over and over again.
Not
We need to
everybody
get
can
our own.
own everything. I
Right.
borrow stuff all the time.
Right. But I agree.
You don't have to ask me twice if I work tools. I love tools.
Anyways, I just wanted to
No
make
more
that-
light trucks though. Got enough.
Carry on.
Okay. I guess my only comment about it is I don't have a problem with tools either. I absolutely agree. When I look at a budget though, and I see numbers that, they're line items. I don't look at a budget. I mean, you have to look at a budget broken down. But I learned a long time ago that I zoom out and go, yeah, but where are we?
Right.
And when we zoom out and we look at a 98.9%,
6, yeah.
0.6, thank you, new glasses. What am I doing? I'm impressed. So the overview is great. The line item, we kind of, and I anything that'll help us make be more efficient, go for it,
And just on the line item, essentially what I do is, this is year 3 with this information, right? So every year we do this, I put it into a bigger spreadsheet so that I can see the actions, right? I can make guesses and estimates all day, but it doesn't mean I know what we're gonna go through. And if you look at the percentages, those high percentages are on very small budgets.
Right.
So if like $3,000 to $6,000 is 200%, it's like, whoa, but it's not a lot of money.
Right.
It's some of the bigger ones where you really gotta, kind of watch for it. We have a lot of smaller line items, which is fine, and Jenna and I are constantly kind of tweaking and coming up with different ideas as we sort bills, the invoices that you sign, into these different categories and say, okay, what works for us, what doesn't work for us for different categories. And we talk about it every December. I pick a couple new categories and combine some categories and whatnot. So,
well,
It's more than fine. 4
it
years
really
ago,
is
we
great.
had this.
Yeah.
Now we have.
I was just gonna say that,
Right.
3 years ago, 4 years ago, we weren't looking at any papers.
right.
Well, this is why, and I'm very comfortable with you making changes with how you want to do it. So I would, yes, I applaud it. So, all right. So that's budget. Next is, are we done? Do you have anything on budget?
I'm all set.
No, nothing?
Yeah,
All right.
well,
Hydrant color coding.
sorry. All right.
Take your time, no worries.
And all their catch bases are full of crap.
We know what's going on.
Hydrant color coding. So several meetings ago, Mr. Day asked to discuss this topic. Just a quick overview for anyone who doesn't know what this is about. So the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, releases color coding guidelines for hydrants that you can choose to do. There's 4 colors that is shown on the second page of this document. So the colors are blue, green, orange, and red. And what they represent is a potential gallonage or flow out of the hydrant. It's no indication of pressure or anything like that. It's all potential gallons flowing out of the hydrant. So essentially, the process to do it involves taking our what we call a hydraulic model, which is our water system in a computer, and you run simulations which spits out gallonage, roughly, or ranges anyways. So essentially what they do is they give us a map, kind of color coded, and then the hydrants would get labeled there. Do you want to talk on it at all? I should have let you go first. Sorry, I keep going, but just didn't know if you wanted.
Well, the reason behind this is we have a lot of hydrants in this town. And you pull up to a hydrant, being a pump operator, pull up a hydrant. You don't know what you got. Dispatch don't know what, they tell you the hydrant's there, but they don't know how good it is. So if they have a chart at dispatch saying, when they give you a hydrant location and it says it's got 1500 GPM, that means go, you got plenty of water. Okay, and we'll learn at the station that the drivers will have that chart, we'll make it out, we'll put it right on the truck. If she tells you or he tells you that, you got blue, or, so that we know. In the past, we're in the guessing game. And having these makes a world of difference when we don't have a lot of manpower anymore. When you're pulling up to a scene when you gotta dress a hydrant, lay a line and all that stuff, and you don't wanna take the blame of, oh, there's no water here, so. And my feeling was, cleaning them up, getting everybody up to speed. Like Ryan said, they're through the, NFPA, and having something easier, like I love this 4-inch stork on here. Like,
Oh, well,
I mean, that would make, that would make life easier because 9 times out of 10, it's the 4-inch that we're having a hard time getting off. Okay, because you exercise the 2.5s when you do a hydrant, when you flush a hydrant. You don't take the big one. Okay, so a lot of that, volume and a lot of vacuum gives that cap an extra, you know what I'm saying? So I think this is a great idea for us and for public safety. And that's why I asked, it's been on my brain for a long, because our hydrants look abused. They're just haven't been, they all work, hopefully. But they look terrible. And by doing one step, you could do another step. And it would save, going back to do it. So.
What I would propose, if it's something that you guys want to go ahead with, I wouldn't propose the paint, which is why I put the pictures that I did. And I got this idea actually from West Boylston. They do this, and they use the reflective tape around the bonnet. So as you can see, this picture has, the green tape, or it's on a black bonnet. It would show up much better on a white or a red like we have. And then the one below shows it at night, which I know has been a question of the fire chief. Is like, how can we make these more visible at night? That would really help make them pop at night. It would not involve us walking around with 5 different color paint cans, painting all these different parts and pieces. It's very quick. Something that a summer kid could do, you know what I mean? If you send them through with a map and easily replace, right? Yeah. Oh, this one's peeling off. Every water truck has 5 or 6 sets of the different colors. All of us is replace it. That's kind of would be my suggestion or my request, I guess, if we wanted to go forward with this. So essentially what I did was I asked Stantec. Stantec is the engineering firm who holds our model. What it would take to do this, it would be about $5,000 to get all this data. I do hold the same concerns that Erica outlined in her email here from Stantec. Is it needs to be very clear that this is not a guarantee. But this model is run based on, and just like every hydrant flow test, if you look at a hydrant flow test for a sprinkler system or whatever, they're run at 20 PSI, which means that Dean as the pump operator is what's called pumping that hydrant. Now, as long as the fire department understands that it's a representation of good, okay, decent, not so good, horrible water flow, that's important. But my only fear with this is that I start getting calls saying, hey, our ladder flow meter only said this would flow 600 gallons a minute, but it's painted green. You know what I mean? And that's not how this is intended to work. It could mean that pumps are on, pumps are off. We don't change our operations based on what's happening fire-wise, you know what I mean? So there's so many different factors at play with a water system. I just want to make, and I would stress this to the fire chief, like, this is a representation. It's not a solid,
this could be.
Exactly. But it does tell you good, better, best. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the way I like to look at it. I almost wish that FPA didn't put numbers on it, but I understand that there needs to be some sort of numerical range associated with them. So,
I mean, when you get down into the red and you see red, you're going to have to pump the hydrant or
bring in other water
or bring in tankers, or you could fill, but you couldn't you know, maintain a good stream up the other end.
Right.
So to be clear, the reflected tape
Yep.
is in the color?
Correct.
Okay,
So
I just want to be clear.
blue,
because-
green, red,
Right.
orange, red.
That
It'll
makes
go right
sense.
around the bonnet, top of the hydrant, like you said, it'd be visible at night. You know, especially on some of our darker roads that we have.
That'd be important. Mikey, do you have any?
I mean, yeah, no, Brian kind of drove home the point that I was thinking about is when you talk about these hydraulic models, you're taking all these different aspects into account, like what wells we're running, what are the tank levels at the time, so it's kind of hard to put a finite number.
A drought.
That chart is gospel, you
All
know, so
that
I guess, yeah, like using that chart as a reference, and like you said, I think I'm certainly open to it. I think it's a great idea for public safety, you know, if it saves you 5 minutes on whether you know what you're gonna do when you walk to a hydrant, then that's, 5 minutes that can really help out the details, so.
One of the things that I, as a firefighter myself, find the most useful is just driving around in my daily life, being like, oh, I know there's good water over in this neighborhood.
Right.
Those are all, it's just stuff that I notice as a DPW and fire person, and maybe it would benefit some of the fire.
The way I learned was from Lyman. Lyman was always good. He says, where's your water tank? What can you get out of that hydrant in front of the water tank? Zero, nothing. You're too close to the source. So I always thought, when I was a kid, you always thought, oh, we got plenty of water here. The water tank's right here. Well, it was the worst hydrant getting water out. So
Right, there's no pressure.
you look like you go up on Stephanie Ann Lane. It's like 4 pounds. So you gotta get it there, or you gotta lay an awful lot of hose.
Like the size of the pipe in the street that the lateral's not in because a huge part it does.
Yep.
You'd be, depending on where you're on president, open water main, that's a lot different than stepping in for a water main,
Yep.
So.
I just say, things are changing. People the over 50 guys know what you got, where you got, but the younger generation are coming in, the younger people are coming into town, moving into town. They don't know when you say, oh, we didn't have adequate enough water to put your house out.
Right.
And then they'll look back, oh, why not? You can give them an example of how it works. I just think things are different today.
See a hydrant, you think, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, yeah.
I guess the way in my mind that I see this working is you get out of the fire truck next to whatever hydrant you need to use, you see a color, and instead of thinking in your mind, oh, I have 800 gallons a minute of water here, you basically come up with a plan of, okay, I might not have the best water here, what's my next step? So
Yeah.
I guess how I see that
Yeah.
vision that working.
I mean, we haven't had it. Brendan started it and he got totally shut off by Mr. Lyon, but I think it's a great thing. I think we should spend the money. I think we should, look it all up and make these things.
Going with that reflective tape can, I'll save you tons of time to install too, right? As opposed to painting every hydrant in town.
And this is a fantastic project for an Eagle Scout or somebody who's looking for one, which we get calls on all the time. Here's a map, here's a bunch of tape.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the hydrants need to be buffed up a little
Well,
bit.
we've
I
been
mean,
working on those.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hydrants out there that I forget are there. So you really gotta, I know where the line stops but who knows where they are in between until you gotta go there,
550, give or take.
How many?
You buy 50.
Give or take 20. It's a lot of hydrant.
Yeah, how am I supposed to remember that? Yeah, I remember what time to get up in them.
Yeah.
I bet I'm late.
And then you're like, yeah, we got the 550, forget it. So Andy, you have anything?
I do.
Okay.
So not coming from a fire background, like Dean or Ryan, I was very ignorant on this subject till Dean brought it up. So I did my best to educate myself. I talked to a lot of people. Mike included, Ryan included, Butsy, Kookie. And what I took from all of the conversations I had was in this, what's the term when you have it on your phone? There's a thing, an app or something.
Yeah.
What's it called?
I am responding.
Huh?
I am responding.
No, it's about fire hydrants.
Yeah, well, we have all our
We
fire
have-
hydrant flows and I am responding.
It may be
I
that.
think you guys.
So,
The dispatch tells us when we leave the building.
well, Kookie's got it on his phone, Butchie's got it on his phone. So what I found is, talking to many people is on their app or whatever they have, it's all about pressure. But in the firefighters world, they want to know about flow, not pressure. So do I think the, markers, the night markers are good? Yes, the paint's good. I think it's all good in public safety. But why? Obviously, I think we'd have to flow check every hydrant, which is a huge expense.
Newton and Wellesley hang a tag
But why
off their hydrant telling you what the flow is.
can't we get them what they truly want on flow, but not pressure?
We are getting them. We're not getting them pressure. This is
Okay.
all flow based.
So in my conversations, they're asking for flow.
This is. flow.
They don't care
Yeah.
about pressure.
No.
This is all available flow.
Okay,
So 1,500.
'Cause we make the pressure.
So let's put it this way, pressure is instantaneous, right?
Yes.
You could put 1,000 pounds on one.
but out of a
40
4-inch line, you only get
Yeah.
X amount.
Flow is continuous.
Right.
And when the water model was put together, which was just before I got here, they do what's called a calibration. So no, we don't fire flow or flow test every single hydrant. That would take, first of all, it would cause us a ridiculous amount of operation.
I understand that. Some of it is
Yeah,
by
so
calculation.
they calibrate it by taking a number of flow tests, usually in the area of 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Plug it into the model, and that, between the pipe sizes, the pipe materials for friction loss and whatnot, that's how you spit out your numbers, for the rest of the system.
So what I'm getting at is I'm all for the color coded, I'm all for the reflective tape. However, whatever that thing on the app is, I would like to see that updated with the flow.
Yeah.
Because in talking to Kookie, when they're on their way to a fire, en route, he's on the radio telling them, listen, there's a fire hydrant 20 feet away, but I don't want you using that. I want you using the one 300 feet down the road because it's going to be better.
Right.
So
When they're on different valves.
I'm not a fireman. I don't get but
I get where you're coming from, yeah.
people. Not only would I like to see this, I don't know how you'd even.
So that essentially.
I'd like to
the
see
data-
that updated.
The data we get, we would give to the fire department. The fire department handles
Okay.
updating all of that. So like, we have that program in Holden. We have every fire alarm panel location, codes for fire alarm panels, all the hydrant locations. I can pull it up, right now,
Yeah.
that's the flows and all that stuff. That will be on them to update. That's their system they use, but we'll provide them with all the information.
All right. Like I said, I'm ignorant on the subject, but I just want to see it done in both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all flow, and when you get down to pressure, like if you ever seen the pressure, it's the guy getting the water determines how much he can use of that flow to give each whatever.
All right.
Let me put it this way. We had an interconnection in Holden with the city of Worcester. The intake line was 13 pounds. It was a 16-inch main. When we would pump 1,700 gallons a minute into the town of Holden, it would drop to 11 pounds. 2 pounds, 1,700 gallons a minute. So
But
horrible
that's the size of the main.
but you can get all the water you need out of
That's
it.
right.
We were pumping it at 90 pounds.
You can't
know?
do that in a 4-inch main, and that,
Correct.
I understand that.
But you could put 1,000 pounds of pressure in a 4-inch main and be like, ooh, pressure. But
Yeah.
it'll go away like that.
All right.
Yeah.
For example, Lower North Road. Go up to where it goes through the woods to the new condos, the new whatever, okay? You flow water over there, you're gonna kill Cole Road.
Makes sense.
You pump water, you suck water, you put a fire out that you're using all that water coming up and taking your, if you gotta pump that hydrant that's right there into them, Cole Road's got nothing.
Just like yesterday, we have a WB drain. How many different neighborhoods,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, they come right back up, but it's the same.
Alright, no, like I said, I'm trying to educate myself on
Yep.
this aspect, and I just wanna make sure everybody's taken care of in the proper aspect.
Right.
So I'm all for it.
Okay, go ahead with it.
Yeah.
We'll get her going on that.
Do you need a motion on this?
You guys?
All right, I make a motion that we continue our painting of the,
I'll just say color coding.
and we'll color code it with, I like the idea of color coding with the reflective tape. Because it makes it easier for everybody and then as, I don't know.
Well, the thing is the other thing is too, is when you get into winter time and some of these hydrants are buried.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see the reflective tape.
Right.
You know, the little stickies gonna.
Well, you still have to do that.
You do that,
Right.
but you're not gonna know until you dig it out. So,
Well, you could put the color
You know,
tape on the,
and
on the
having it
sticks, right?
in dispatch and having it in the trucks.
Well, having it in dispatch and on that thing I'm talking about is key.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a system.
Yeah.
To all work
Yep.
together, because not one particular item is gonna work all the time.
So I make a motion that we move forward with, have her do this study and,
Keep the scouts going.
knock
with
it
their
out
paintbrushes.
and, that we use, colored reflective tapes.
Yeah, and we'll give them
according
Girl
to
Scout
the NFPA standard. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
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 Got that. All right, next is water foreman take home vehicle.
Right, so I wanted to discuss this, my experience, just talking to other DPW directors, other DPWs, typical that a water foreman, just like a highway foreman, would take home a vehicle as part of the position. Respond to emergencies, just, as part of that leadership role here at the DPW. So what I did is I did a quick poll of some surrounding towns. I wanted to make sure that what my feelings were correct. I reached out to communities you see here. So Lancaster, Holden, West Boylston Water District, they're a district. Clinton, Paxton, Rutland, Westminster, and Sterling. I did reach out to a couple more. Didn't get back to me, but I thought I had enough data to at least give you guys an idea to discuss this and think about it. And essentially what I did is I asked them how many employees they had. So a lot of them gave me number of office employees as well. I took those out. I made it field employees. If the water foreman takes home a vehicle, and just if the on-call, if it's a separate on-call person, if they take home a vehicle, and just a couple other notes. But I wanted to approach the topic with you guys and, kind of go from there.
Well, what do you?
Nobody's saying nothing, so I'll start it.
Yeah, I want you to start.
So, I'm not blind. I see what goes on. I see Mike down at Route 12 pump station with his personal vehicle.
Which one? Convertible?
I believe that he takes his job to heart and he puts time in, whatever. Whether it's on call or not, he always shows up. But what really strikes me, and I've paid attention to this for the 4 years or so that I've been around here, I see his personal vehicle around a lot. So, does he get compensated for that? I don't know. I'm not gonna micromanage. Not my business. That's your business. However, in this poll, what's it gonna cost us at the end of the year? He's gonna be showing up anyways. All for it. And when he shows up, he's not gonna have to come back here, get his buggy with the tools and what have you. He's gonna go from his residence to the thing. I'm all for it.
You think
Go ahead, Blaine, I'm last.
you're last?
Yep.
Well, I had the exact same reaction. I said, my God, he gets called. He's always here. I see, and all sorts of stuff going on. And where are his tools? and they should be in his truck. And where's his truck? It should be with him. So to me, it's a no-brainer. It's a real no-brainer. And I know that it will cost the enterprise funds money, but it seems like it actually seems like it's the same tool conversation that we were having before. You can't do the job properly handicapped without the right tools. We're kind of, I don't know. It seems like we'd be nickel and diming ourselves to not give him the truck to use. So that's my reaction.
Shiny. You can take the blue one home, Mike.
You can take the one.
You know what, I think that news.
So,
All right, well, I'm all for it too, but I'm just saying, times have changed. You guys got to remember times have changed. People are nitpicking money-wise all across the board. Okay, Paul, you go to Shrewsbury with yours. You go, I want to know where you live.
Sterling.
Okay,
I go to Old.
and Ryan goes, there are people out there that do not like it. Okay, so we have to put that in consideration. There's gas prices, there's this, that. They don't understand the loss of, like when Mike has to come here, get a truck when he went by the break. I understand that, but when I was here, Lyman was here for 40 years, lived on Maple Street, not allowed to take a water truck home. It sat in that first bay. And it didn't sit outside either. It sat inside with all the tools. It wasn't covered with snow. It didn't get rained on, stuff like that. So I'm all for it, but you just got to realize that it belongs to the townspeople.
I think that's an awesome point. Glad you brought it up, and I wrote it in there. I should have said it before, like, and this is a conversation that, had to be had with me when I got my first town vehicle. I'm sure Paul as well, and I'll have with Mike. Like, and honestly, when I got these responses from these different towns, they all said town vehicle for work purposes only, not for personal use, right? So it's very clear, like, this is to go from home to work, home to the emergency, work to home. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not for that.
And you
that
respect
personal
it
use, right?
like it's your own, and you respect it that it belongs to the townspeople that pay an over amount of taxes in this town.
Respect it.
And if it gets hurt or gets crashed, where are you going? Oh, I was going home. Right. And they're gonna say, okay, another 60 grand, we can need a new one. So, Mike, yes, you get my yes, because you do a phenomenal job, just like Paul does and Ryan, but respect the tool,
Respect it, keep it clean, don't abuse it.
and
Absolutely, thank you guys.
got crap weather coming, you're all out plowing, put it inside. If you're not using it, okay?
Well, crap
You know what
weather coming, you're gonna put your blade on and take it
No,
off. So on the way in, you can drop that. blade. Right?
yeah.
I mean,
That.
Yeah.
it depends on
The only reason he brought it up because it's brand new.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Should we be micromanaging that or just counting? I mean, I'd like to point out something that I thought was pretty much illustrates the point that we're in good hands. But in this case, it's with Ryan. Ryan went away on vacation and he dropped off his truck here and used his personal truck. But his main truck, the truck we
Which
got
a
him.
lot of people do.
I think that's the right thing to do. Yep.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
it wasn't just this vacation. It's every time he's been on vacation. Like I said, I see a lot.
Yeah.
You have no idea what
I've been on
I see.
vacation a lot.
He's never went on vacation and not left the truck here, which I think is a little weird, but
Yeah. Why?
But that is the ultimate respect right there for the
Right.
town.
Yeah, about the truck there. Yes, in case somebody needs it, yeah.
Now, the bottom line, we're not micromanaging, we are the boss, okay? It's the policy, and like I said before, we can say as much as we want, But
Correct.
the town people own these vehicles.
Yep.
So respect them. That's all I ask.
Very good.
You know, take them where to work, back and forth, do your job, and
All right, so we have 3 yeses.
So we have 3 yeses, make a motion. Or do you want, well, why don't you make?
I'll make the motion. Mike gets a vehicle to go home with.
Call the water foreman so that it's.
Water foreman,
The long.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll make-
Community.
Mike,
Hate to say, it's about the position.
the
not
water foreman gets a take-home vehicle. I make that motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Yo,
All right,
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
what a tangle.
Well, that was. Okay. the
Go
next
park it
one-
next to the blue one and tangle.
Yeah.
The next one's easy because it's just a general conversation that I wanted to have with everybody. I've been sort of researching how the state does stormwater regulations. And it's pretty comprehensive, but most of it is done on the basis of history. Noah's history. It's not on the basis of Noah's projections or predictions. And it's done in a fairly comprehensive way by the state, and their state regulations are for minimum water. Sort of like, as a retired architect, I think about minimum floor load that are in the building code. Well, my clients would say, or I would ask them how they're planning on using the room. And I would find out if they're putting, I don't know, water beds in there or whatever, just to overload the floor, that the standard building code would probably hold up, but it was sad. So each client had to tell me roughly what they expected. In a way, we could do that with being clients. We could ask for performance specifications. We could ask for anything other than making our regulations lighter than the state. The reason I think we should make it more stringent than the state is that the state was done by engineers overall. And I could be wrong with this, and Brian, correct me if you think I'm wrong, or let's find out. Let's put it that way. Most storm drainage systems have secondary access, secondary overflow, secondary places where things can, the one storm sewer gets taxed, fully taxed, there's an overflow. 2 feet, 3 feet above it. In our case, it's what, 7 feet? 8 feet?
Where are you talking?
I'm just talking about downtown.
Oh,
Sorry. I'm talking about downtown. And I think this is part of the conversation. When I started realizing that there are 351 different municipalities, and there's 351 DPWs, and there's 351 boards or directors or whatever in the Commonwealth, each one of us have to decide as a group, how do we want to make anything more stringent? Do we want to add any more restrictions or any more requirements? We want to ask the question, are the state regs being adjusted quickly enough to deal with upcoming storms like they had in Leominster last year? These are things that I haven't gotten clean answers on. Leominster got in, about 8 hours, roughly 12 inches of rain. 2 of the hours, they got rates of about 4 inches an hour. Scary stuff. Those are scary numbers. there's something as a performance spec that we could throw at our engineers. Because remember, I've worked with a lot of engineers. They look to the client, just like architects look to their clients, to help define the needs. I don't think we should just accept the state regs. I think we should become a little more stringent, but not everywhere in the town. I don't want to sound like, come on. Let's be reasonable about where we are going to be spending our money. And these are expensive systems. They're what's called legacy systems. We're not going to want to dig them up in another 50 years. If they dig them up in another 50 years, I think we haven't done our job. And
But sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying, don't you think if the weather has changed this much in the last 50 years that they're gonna change, it may continue to change in the next 50 years, and it's gonna have to get dug up anyways?
I hope you're wrong.
Me too.
And that's why I'm saying, well, if we goose it a little bit now, how much more would that cost? And why can't we ask these kind of questions at this stage and get reasonable responses? You spend a little bit more now, all of a sudden, instead of doubling it and ripping it up in 50 years, maybe you rip it up in 100. I don't know. But I know that if we don't ask, we don't get. And one of the things I wanted to see, which is a part 2, is I wanted to see what I would call maintenance schedules, because I want to know what the maintenance costs are. How many times time period, whether it's a decade or a year, do we have to flush these culverts out, these storm sewers out? How many times during how much? What's the time period? And shouldn't that be a cost that we consider? And it's sort of like, what does it cost to change the oil in the truck? What does it cost to flush out the system? And it brings up another related discussion that I know Ryan and I had a while back about considering investing in equipment that would clean out culverts. We talked about it too, Paul, right? And it's just a discussion at this point. And I bring it up in public because I want people to know we're talking about it. And you guys get to give me your 2 cents or whatever, whatever you think. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
All right, I'll go next. If we're talking about downtown, we gotta get one step done. We gotta get going on it first.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? Do you see anything happening? A lot of talk, a lot of meetings, a lot of this, a lot of that. And storms don't stop. You get a storm like tonight. If we would have got another 2 or 3 inches of rain like we did, our downtown would have been flooded because they won't let us touch nothing. So we had studies done. We spent townspeople's money on studies and this, that, and the other thing. We were the bad guys that stopped them because no one thought about the drainage. And then when we thought about the drainage, they got all bent out of shape because we altered their operation, which took them 5-6 years to get to where they were. And I don't know how many people. So to ask the state for more, I want to see some action first. I want to see, something on paper better than we're going to put this in, that in. Let's see something that works.
I'm a little confused.
I'm not confused because you're talking about stormwater and where it's going to go and this, that, and the other thing, and the height of downtown. Well, the height of downtown is not going to change.
Right.
The pitches and the cleaning of stuff is not going to change because they won't let us clean it. So
After the outfall.
we can't touch it because it got mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So, they're protecting the dirt in the pipe. So with your saying of trying to get more out of the state,
I'm not saying that. Maybe I'm
You're,
miscommunicating.
well, you're always talking about getting more. We haven't got anything yet. And it's been, you can ask Mr. Mackey how many years it's been. We've been working on this town,
No,
whatever,
wait a minute.
7,
Gene,
6
Gene,
years.
It's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about,
Yeah, you are.
the design that we have.
There is no design.
Yes,
Show me
there is. We
show me a design.
There's a design. We saw the drawings.
Yeah, and we
We
had
saw it.
questions. Did they do anything about the question?
It was
Yeah, we
a
have-
process.
Questions?
Yeah, and while they're, right, and before they go
I mean, you're
further,
retired, Blaine, so you talk to Ryan more than anybody, so,
no, that's not the
you
point.
know,
That's not the point.
so.
So, I feel like I may have miscommunicated. I question whether the system that they showed us the design for was
It's gonna
be
work.
able to handle what hit Lemonster.
No,
All right,
No, and it never will.
absolutely not. We
I-
can't handle 3 inches of rain, never mind 12.
no. That new system design that we're about to spend a pile of money on, would that work with what hit Lemonster?
Nope.
Why not?
Because, okay,
All right,
in my opinion,
right,
the bottleneck of Lemonster, right? Look at a storm system, right?
Right.
You could put 100-inch pipes in there.
Right.
And if you don't have 100 square inches or 100, whatever, 100-inch pipe is much more than 100
Right.
square inches, of the ability for the water to get into them,
right.
it's not gonna work,
But
right?
there are ways
So
of doing
you
that.
would have to literally create the entire main street as one giant catch basin in order to handle that.
I think that's an overstatement. I
It
do.
is.
Yeah, I think that's an
It's an
overstatement.
overstatement, but he's
But
making a
it's,
point.
it's true.
Where, in my opinion, and I'm just giving you an opinion, no calculations, education,
Right.
background. Unless we were building a new city or a town from a flat field, it's going to be extremely difficult. And I'm not against difficult stuff, but to retrofit any existing layout of streets, buildings, elevations, outfalls, whatnot, to work with a storm like Lemonster's.
Okay,
I look at that as the extreme, and I know extremes are more common.
Right.
And after listening to you, I said to myself, like, I should have them just plug those numbers in.
right. Why
See
can't
what
they
it
do
looks
that?
But-
Why? That's what I'm asking them
What
to
it's
do.
gonna spit out is it's gonna spit out, okay, this is gonna surcharge this much, that much, that much. If I were to have them go through and do an entire redesign of everything that.
I wasn't asking for that. I was asking for,
Exercise-
well, either that, the pipe design also includes lack of maintenance, doesn't it?
On the outfall.
On the outfall.
Yes.
And that's what I
and-
mean. You gotta have the right outfall for the amount of water
No,
that
no.
may enter the center of town.
No, the pipe size is size on the basis of it being partially clogged.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
All right, so if we kept it open more, if we cleaned it more frequently,
How do we go about doing that?
thank you.
Okay.
You can clean
That
it.
was one of the questions.
You can clean the pipe as much as you want on the outfall. It's the land and the streams and the downflow of where it's gonna go after that.
Right.
Because if you're higher here, down through here is higher than that pipe. And it just doesn't go anywhere.
I know,
The townspeople are gonna spend millions of dollars on this downtown and getting it look great. And the first 5-inch storm we're gonna get, we're gonna have a swimming pool downtown because nothing is working
well,
not on our
but
property.
Dean, this is what I'm talking about, that we have a design and I'm questioning whether it is rigorous enough or if we should be asking for it to be made more rigorous, and if so, how rigorous? And that is a discussion point, not a decision point.
Right, and how
Now-
much longer does it put us back to
It's just a
another
question.
person in another meeting, another committee, another this, another that?
I guess, yeah, so
You know what
right
I mean?
now this is, I've done a good amount of stuff. I haven't done that much, but I've done a good amount of stuff. When I get the willies and I get sort of like this sixth sense sort of, I wonder about this. I got that feeling when I looked at those drawings. I wanted to share that. And that doesn't mean that the instincts are right. But I got the willies. All right. I'm telling you guys, it bothered me.
That's not.
And I'm sharing that because I don't want the town to flood. And I'm sharing that because I can't see that the state regs minimums are enough, are strong enough for our no outflow, no place to go downtown. And that's all I wanted to discuss. And I don't know, Wendy, what do you think?
You're shooting in the wind.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? If your outfall is only able to handle 1 million gallons an hour, we'll get a 5-inch storm over 1 square mile of property that produces 3 million gallons.
Yeah.
And the outfall can only handle 1 million gallons. I don't care about the design. It's a waste of a conversation.
It's
Exactly what I said.
It's
That's
0.10 as a tenth of a mile. And
I'm using round numbers.
yeah, and the outflow numbers, it's a good point, but the outflow numbers can
That's
handle
my,
more.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like to see a little bit more brain power put into the whole thing.
Right.
But living in this town for 45 years, I know what this downtown is.
Right.
If the outfall can only handle so much, I don't care what size the pipes are. This is a waste of a conversation. Not the theory of the conversation.
Okay.
Particular point.
I'm open to any ideas as to what to do.
I am
The
too.
outlaw. It's all private property. I don't know what to do with it.
that's the
It's a
problem.
swamp. You know what I mean? Like short of a floating machine that has those big giant wheel track things, I don't know what you can do.
It's all it is a marsh back there that is dying
And
everything
there are,
off.
there are beaver dams. That does not help.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of the marsh, so they're not like they're accessible
Yeah.
for trapping or removing, or they're all on private property.
I wish I had ideas. I wish we could get
I mean,
somebody in here that had ideas.
I'm with you, Blaine, on getting you're not agreeing with their study or whatever.
I'm worried that it's not good enough.
It's not good enough, correct.
All right.
Because it's not good enough because of where it's going to try to end up.
Right.
And that's the bottom line.
See,
The bottom line is you can destroy downtown all you want. It's where it's gonna go. You can put all these big pipes in and whatever, it's gonna stop. These filter beds right here have been dry all my life, and I've been here 50-something years. Never seen a drop of water in them. And they were put there for the downtown water to catch it beside the old train trestle that came down here, so it didn't flood out the train. And it never, ever, ever worked.
2015, there was a puddle this big
Yeah, it's a bad heat.
on the snow belt.
the snow melt. Yeah. It was,
That's why we had to move the sand pile.
yeah.
But I agree with it. But I'm not too keen on the approach of, the townspeople are spending tons of money on research after research and studies after studies when the bottom line is it's got nowhere to go.
Well, I do know this. I know that Bill, our town administrator, is going for grant money to help pay for all of this. And that
Tell me
pay
about
for all
something
of
to
what?
fix this back here.
Pay,
Just to be clear, all the drainage design work was presented to you guys was a grant, so it didn't, that
Right.
part, the drainage design, the water main
Right.
design did not use direct Sterling taxpayer. I just wanna make that.
I am not gonna disagree with you one iota. However, what I will say, you wanna do a study, figure out how to drain the swamp.
Yep.
And then we'll talk. Because if you don't drain the swamp, just like government, it don't go nowhere.
You never could see the subdivisions behind this place because the trees are green. There were nothing. Now you can look right into the backyards of people because everything is so still. It doesn't move and it rots. There's
Yeah, I
no
know.
flow.
I know that it was many, many years ago that they did, I don't know, every decade they, I mean, before DCR, they opened it up. They used to be a field, a farmer's field back.
Used to hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever else they used to hate
They used to hate it off of Newell Hill. They used to
Right.
come in down the hill off the Barway. I ran the train. I used to jump.
Wow.
My old man upon me.
Uh,
He used to throw apples at the conductor from the site.
Yeah, it's about 20.
I mean, I just think, we've done a lot, Ryan, with it, and you put a lot of time into it and a lot of, so
Well-
probably you too, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, we have to, there's a half the thing of this back here.
And I agree with that. On the other side, when you're talking about, it's kind of like, look at it like doing a water main, right? So we can't do, we need to do all 70 miles of water main in town? Yes, we do. But we can only do a little piece at a time.
Right.
At least if we design downtown, you start by designing the water going into the drains, right?
Right.
So that's where the design started. And then we added the caveat, oh wait, there is a good outflow, account for that. And they did. And that's where they had a design. They went back to the drawing board, started again with the pipe being at least half full of sediment at the end, right? That's just dirt. Now, it might not be full of dirt once you get the pipes in there, but the outfall, yes, is still gonna have some
Correct.
surcharge to it. So that's accounted for. The way I look at it is for that project, that's makes sense. I wish we didn't have to look at the downstream part as a separate project. However, it's yet another one of those things where if it was easy, it would already be done, right? You guys, Paul tells me all the time, you guys have been talking about that off of School Street off the corner for years.
Right.
You know, like, and again, if there was a way for, I don't even know who to start to talk to because it's not like it's DCR property. We can't even put a shovel in the water anywhere. You know what I mean? Let alone dig out a wetlands, which is now a wetland. I mean, and you brought up what you brought up off Newell Hill. I grew up on Sterling Road. They used to be full of hay fields by the Masons. DCR bought it. Beavers built their dams. It's just dead trees everywhere you look now. There's no way. It's unfortunately
The peat.
nature and it's kind of a balance with this
I don't know.
case.
Better-
I mean, a
better
natural
bath in there
habitat
than Lake Washington.
protected type areas in wetlands and what we as the town need / desire for our infrastructure. You know what I mean? And it's not a cut and dry thing.
No, it's not easy.
It is an uphill battle. you
It's
know?
not easy. But
It is.
But that's why I tried to throw the caveats in there for the design and be like, listen, at least design it so it's surcharging so that we can move the water through it. You know, the water's gonna go, it's just going way slower than we'd like it to go. You know, that's.
And they'll see that. I mean, they'll get it all done and they'll see it and say, okay, phase 64, we gotta dig it out, but.
You won't have that manhole in front of the center of town blowing off or whatever.
It pops off after a couple inches of rain when it backs up.
Right. That's
Put big musky down there.
Yeah, I have to take care of that. Oh, well, then.
Okay, so there was just a general conversation. That was what it was intended to be.
Well, that's fine, Blaine.
Right.
It's stuff you really got to talk about because it's,
It
the
is.
thinkers are going to come back at us saying,
That,
the catch basins aren't working in the center of town. Well, geez, those are the towns.
it's gonna work better than it does now.
Yep.
right. And we can say that, but we can also say,
How-
well, Where are we at?
Apple of during. We could do at least that.
So that is a question somewhere along the line, talk about how do you keep culverts clear? How do you keep storm sewers clear? And what do we need to do that on a periodic basis? Because I think that's something we have to do.
Uphill battle for us every single day.
Right. So it sort of broadens the conversation away from the downtown. But I'd like maybe a future agenda item would be to consider equipment or subcontractors to clean these things out. I don't know what,
Tomorrow we got a jet truck coming in to hit, areas because there's just some stuff we just can't get. So, and
We know it's
I wish we could do the whole town. I'd love to, you know what I mean? But for some reason, right now we focus on certain areas, our worst ones that we know about.
well, this is the question. It's an overview question. Should we be considering getting our own equipment so that we can go through the town, not to do all of the culverts every year, but to do all of the culverts every, a third of the
I
culverts
think the
every.
first step is getting I don't even want to use this word, somebody in to inventory the culverts first, right? Like there's head knowledge and there's paper maps and there's stuff, but like we need a database, and it's going to be a database that probably will have 2/3 of the culverts in it because that's what you can see.
Right.
And as we investigate those culverts, we'll find 100 more because that's what we do. We spent the better part of this week investigating drainage systems because we have the jet truck coming tomorrow. And as we start working our way through these systems, look over here, this head wall is 2 feet of sand. Look over here, this, you know what I mean? And we're finding these things. That's the way it goes, unfortunately. And when you have 100 miles of road and 11 guys, 13 guys, we do the best we can.
Well, this is why I look at this as a multi-year project. I don't look at it, but if we don't talk about it, they don't know what we're doing.
I would love a culvert for a drainage.
Keep in mind, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
This town is still living off of what was in Wyman's head. Ryan is trying to get us on paper.
I know. I'm right there with him.
Still here.
We're
Yep.
lucky he's still
Separate
here,
tax.
but this
Right.
whole town is inside his head.
All right.
Ryan is trying to get us on paper and doing a very good job,
I think
but we can't do it in a week.
absolutely not.
Wayne, I think on a good note is we're not using sand anymore.
I know.
So at least what now, from now on, it's that the center of town, we used to pound that with sand.
I know.
So at least if we do change a bunch of stuff out the center, it's just that much less, of sand that we're pulling sand out that's been there for 30, 40 years.
Right.
And not adding to it.
It is a
Right.
great motivator for our guys because it's not like we're going to clean this basin that we're going to fill up in this winter. You know what I mean? It's hey, look at all this sand. You joke about the guy who had the plow root or whatever. You haul it out and you say, wow, okay, let's see what this does in a year or two. And I find it to be a great motivator. Motivator for me.
And it's an expense to get rid of it,
Of course.
so.
Of course. I just think we need to talk about it more because I think you guys are doing a good job. I mean, every time I run into you guys, you're doing another culvert or we're talking about it. Sorry. Project update.
All right. Gonna cruise through some of these. All right, as Blaine mentioned, your DPW facility, all those committee members as of tonight should have been appointed. I didn't know about it either, Blaine. I saw it on the agenda and I looked at it.
Right.
So that select board did their official appointee. So now we can get a meeting scheduled for that. I have been spending a lot of time with the consultants on the 14062 project. So we've been having numerous meetings with DOT all their people that review these designs. Lots and lots of questions, mostly surrounding how much we should shift this towards like the DCR land. We had actually a positive meeting with DCR about that detention pond that they put in partially on our property. They were fully on board with us moving it, you know, on all onto their property, which will buy us some space. And we are, you know, one of the big holdups in the design, I don't want to get too detailed on it right now, well, been out for many hours, is the shared use path. So what that is a 10-foot wide sidewalk for bikes and ped and all that. And it adds for a intersection. You may stand there and think it looks big. It's not very big. You know, as far as the property lines go and stuff. So when you add 20 feet across the whole thing, that's a huge number. And it pushes that intersection, you know, 10 feet on the top, 10 feet on the bottom, really a 10-foot circle around the whole thing. It pushes that intersection really close to private property or more into DCR land. And so that's all stuff that we're kind of considering right now. The beauty of the TIP process, and I have plenty of complaints about it, is DOT gets very involved very early so that you don't, you know, spend your whole budget for them to say, yeah, we don't like that. You know, have we spent a lot? Yup, but we haven't even spent half. It's allocated, but we haven't spent it. But they can now, they call it 325%. Now, 25 to 90 goes very much quicker because you're actually doing tangible design work for a design. It's getting those concepts and the different designs that takes a lot of time. So that's kind of what we're working. I have my third meeting on that topic tomorrow of this week. So it's been very involved with 62140 stuff. All right, scheduled road work. So we have signed our contract for the railroad review, and DOT's at their 75% review. As we do, their big concerns are height under the bridge. I haven't gone out and measured it. I'm sure it's not whatever it says. It was 14.2. I don't remember what it says, but I'm sure it's different than what the signs say. But that's their concern with paving underneath the 190 bridges, that the heights don't change. Based, you know, we don't get it any closer to the bridge or whatnot.
They can't change. It's a regulation. The regulation.
That's right.
It has to stay the same.
Yeah,
No matter if they have to
need to write
have to
that
mill a
in there.
hole, a dip, or
Right.
like they did it with Mike's Diner.
So that's that. We are moving forward with getting the section of Pratt's from Route 12 to the first railroad crossing, like where the SMLD Morton building is, getting that done this fall. That part is the flattest part. It is the part I think that needs the most grading and shimming and shifting, and I think that that section will work well with an FDR, full depth reclaim. We're still getting traffic moving because it's kind of straight. There's good views. It's not like if we do the whole 9,000 feet in dirt and get that folded over and compacted and keep traffic, it'll be very challenging. I think we can do that section without much impact. It's our worst section. It needs the most grading, and I'd be happy to get that in dirt so we can maybe add some material, get some shed going. That's kind of what I'm looking at there. As far as the spring roads, those were topped last week, and they started today on driveway aprons. So that's Ridgewood, Hastings, Roper, and Westland Farm. So those came out nice, and get those finished up. The Complete Streets project, that's substantially complete. They did some punch list items today. And we've been working through the grant reimbursement process. As a reminder, DOT paid for, the state paid for that project. Cemetery wall evaluation. So we signed that contract. Paul and I held a kickoff meeting. We walked the whole wall in 97-degree heat on July 8th. The wall all the way, you know, they took a zillion measurements all the way from one end to the other, and then we bounced over to Reed and walked that wall that has the railing along the top. As a reminder, this is kind of like a brief eval of what's there, and is it A, worth saving, B, need to come down and what are our options? What could it look like? What are the means and methods and what are some rough costs? So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. I didn't tell you this yet. I hoped the historical commission, we were kind of asking like, what's the vintage of that wall? I didn't know. I mean, to me, that road was very clearly built by DOT because of how wide it is. I know that DOT took care of the resurfacing and rebuilding of it in 1993 when they did that big black base, all that we found when we did the milling down in Choxit. But being as wide as it is, you know, I wasn't sure if they built those walls at that point. They found a deed today dated back in 1893 that referenced a wall at Oak Hill along Clinton Road. Whether it's the same wall or a different wall, it's hard to tell. But we're trying to find out the vintage of that wall, as Paul and I said many times. And the question we'd love to ask Mr. Temple, you know, but so if anyone knows anything,
It was there before me.
I'd love to know.
My grandma,
1893 is way before you.
Yeah, way before
my
me.
grandfather had a picture of it
He did.
back in. Oh, gosh, I'm trying to remember what the day was on the
Actually,
back
now
of
that you
it.
say
It
that,
was like
Charlie Baker's got pictures of everything
40,
downtown
40 something.
and pictures of that wall dating back to early 1900s.
Can you help me with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's that?
Charlie Baker. He's got pictures of where the post office used to be, the whole,
Yeah.
that whole area.
He had pictures of the hole that the train used to go on.
Yeah,
Right.
yes, that's what he was showing. That Route 12 and 62. That was like a field that
The backside of the post office
Yeah.
was where the train used
where
to go
the
under.
train tracks.
Right.
Yep.
And that
Uh,
wall in Reed, that on the right side of the road, that's where the train,
Yes.
it made a slight turn and went under Maple Street.
Okay. Yeah, where the bridge is, right? The street bridge.
I'll inquire about those pictures.
Okay. Thanks. All right, updated pavement management plan. So I'm working through the, I wrote signed scope. It's not signed yet, but working through the agreement with them. So this includes, you know, it's an AI scan, so artificial intelligence scan of our roads. We're actually going to get a database of photos every 10 feet down all of our streets, like pretty much going to get our own street view set up from it. And it's called Roadbotics. It's the, with the vendor that they use. And we'll get, you know, I think it's going to be, let's keep updating this thing. Let's keep changing it. Let's keep doing it different ways, seeing what can come out of it. So we're well underway on that. All right, going down to water. We've still been working on that corrosion control study. We have all kinds of equipment. Route 12 is getting pretty darn close to being ready to go. And then we'll be bouncing over to Redemption Rock to install some equipment over there. We're doing that work in house, except for the programming of the of our SCADA system. Redstone water main, we're in the contract execution phase of that. Same with the West Sterling generators. Both those notice of awards have been signed. And we're executing the contract. I expect both those I expect Redstone to be done, you know, this fall, and West Sterling will get started. That's less weather dependent, mostly inside work. It's going to be a lead time issue on that VFD generators. On the vehicles, truck 2 is all complete, in service, being used. The 2 small pickups have been ordered. I don't know when they're coming. I have no idea. Truck 9 is delivered. It's downstairs. It is going to go out for a warranty. We noticed some paint blemishes on the driver door. We believe they're factory blemishes, so they're going to take that back probably next week and paint it. We did pick up a blank skid today from Madigan, and we're going to start building our leaf box for it. We're going to build that in-house so that we have what we need and how we want it set up, leaf/chip box. Truck came out really nice. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a great addition to our fleet, having the ability to switch between those bodies. They did a nice job building it, and especially in the winter. Boy, I think that's going to be a vehicle for us. The lawnmower replacement capital item. So we purchased a Toro 54-inch stander and a 36-inch stander. So these are some different mowers, different styles to what we had. We proposed we were going to look at. The tour for Q4 has been great. Yep. We can, we've been using it downtown, using it in cemeteries, we've been using it around the small areas in the fields. And that 36 is really gonna come in handy up in like Oak Hill and some of the tighter cemeteries. Those are coming. And the small paver, we're looking at 3 to 5 weeks lead time, get some training going. It'll be a learning curve for us. Another, just like the excavator, an entry level into the world of paving. You know, we're not pavers here. We don't have anyone who's been a paver. But it'll be a nice tool for us. We can lay gravel with it. We can lay asphalt with it. We can do all kinds of stuff. I think we're going to be able to, with the excavator, I think that's going to be useful to load it. And we can do some of our bigger pavement patches without problem. All I got on that.
Paul, do you have anything? Do you
I
have any?
got my super updates.
Oh, all right. So, sorry, I went right by that.
All right.
Go for it.
So
Sorry.
towards the end of June, we used money in our cemetery maintenance budget, as we had discussed, to pave the entrance to the Oak Hill Cemetery. It came out nice. We plan on continuing those.
Looks
pavement
very
upgrades.
nice, by the way.
Came out good.
Yep.
Pavement upgrades annually to get the roads in Oak Hill and Hillside back up into good shape. So my next plan, or I hope, is to go straight off of what we just took straight to the back, start, branching off of that apron. That apron uses a ton of mix because of how wide it is. Once we get into the 8-9 foot roads in the cemetery, we'll be able to go a lot further. We did do, what we used? 3 to 4 inches? 3 inches.
8.5 base.
Two layers on the hill, just because of cars coming down the hill. We wanted to put a little more mix in there, but our typical cemetery roads are more like a driveway because it really doesn't take a lot of load. But we did put a little more mix in there. Line painting request for quotes has been sent out. I expect lines to be painted late summer or early fall. Bid documents for our crack sealing work are going to be available next week to contractors with a bid opening mid-August. I'd expect this work to happen in the fall. We recently installed 6 new pedestal mount barbecue grills at the beach, along with 8 new bollards in front of the senior center. We rented an auger for the skid steer, which made the installation process much smoother. So that was nice to be able to use that. As I mentioned earlier, we have a combination jet and back trucks coming tomorrow to jet a number of stormwater lines in town that we've identified as being clogged. We've prepped them all, essentially you get a day rate from these guys. They're all prepped, ready to roll. So when they show up, we can get right going. So we got a list. We'll see what we get through, but we're gonna do as much as we can in a day for now and kind of see where we go. Second quarter 2024 water bills were mailed out the end of last week. Unfortunately, we had some issues with our oldest reading system, which yielded a large number of estimated bills once again on those Mueller meters, the ones that we're getting rid of. We combed over the estimated bills. The beauty is we've gone now several cycles without estimating that those estimates are pretty good estimates. It's not like we've been doing this for a long time. So I hope that they get it back up and running. I fought with them every day in the month of June. I can only do so much on the computer side. It's frustrating. Lightning caused the catastrophic failure of the Dana Hill 140 traffic light towards the end of June. The lightning traveled through the ground via one of the traffic loops and right into the cabinet. It mixed all 3 voltages within that cabinet and destroyed every single piece in the cabinet. If anyone wants to see pictures,
Did it hit the lawn check?
go with it. What?
Did it hit the lawn check?
Central Massaco quickly responded, diagnosed, and replaced every component in that cabinet. With the last component, so they used some used parts just to get it up and good running. They replaced the last component with the new main controller last week. This work was covered by insurance. So cost about 25 grand.
I didn't realize it was that cat.
Zooming it up.
Obviously, we knew about it, but I didn't realize it was
Just,
that cat.
just the Opticom that the fire department uses to get through was like $5,500. You know, it's very, very expensive.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And as you folks know, last night we worked a water main break on Campground Road. Break involved a hydrant lateral, which added an extra element to the repair. Crew did a great job as always. And
Okay, Well, now, you haven't,
Just throwing my hat out to the guys, it's been hot the last couple of weeks. We punched out a bunch of little projects and everyone has just floated right through, so I just wanna thank those guys for their effort, their sweat and everything else. It's been hot, so we're motoring through a bunch of little projects that are gonna help us in the winter time. We've been picking and choosing some ice spots and trying to take care of those, but.
Forethought, good.
Well, like I said, this is, Ryan made us a list of things that we were trying to just take care of, and we have banged out 3 or 4 of them off the bat right off already, so.
Even in the heat.
Even in the heat, so I just, my hat to the guys, thank you, and hopefully it cools off a little bit for the guys.
tomorrow is, well, here we go.
I know, it's regular, it's just, yeah, it is what it is.
Mikey, you got it?
Just want to give thanks to the guys that worked their butts off last night in the rain. I want to thank Ryan for taking over my absence. That was a lot of playing when everything happened, so I got here as fast as I could, but Ryan really.
You want a truck to go home?
Should just left my
You
phone
would
on.
just get your plane?
I contemplate just that. You know, I want to thank Ryan for taking care of that in my absence.
Good deal.
I mean, I felt bad because I called Ryan to see if there was anything I could do. You guys were, I was looking out my window and I'm going,
We're hiding in the trailer.
I like, God love you. Been there, but God love you. It's not fun, you know, and
Today would have been worse.
the safety
Yeah,
thing of the lightning and all that stuff.
You know, it's not-
It was nasty. It was nasty. Nice job.
Oh, well.
Nice job.
So, future agenda items. Andy, you got anything?
Yes, sir, I do.
Me too.
Alright.
Go ahead.
All right,
You've been, speaking very well.
next meeting, because we're coming up on 60 days, I'd like to discuss West Sterling baseball field. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be kicked back to the select. I would just like to make a couple points. First and foremost, I will not sit idly by and watch one lone individual bully town employees in the manner that they have. Somebody wants to start a fight, there's a fight. I am regretting my decision on letting that fence stay. It wasn't right. We pushed over. The reason I pushed over is because it was so close to a major event for the kids. And I didn't want to see a mess. I didn't want to see their big day get ruined. However, it's one particular individual that decided to take it upon himself, do what he pleases on town property. Not show up at meetings,
No
not abide by our decisions. Enough is enough. He wants a fight, picked it with the wrong person. And that's me. When he has bullied town employees to the point where one wrote their resignation, that's when I'm done. I am freaking hot. We're gonna end up kicking it back to the selectmen. I would request that after we discuss it at next month's meeting, once it goes to the selectmen, we make our best effort to not have a DPW meeting at the same night that it's discussed with the select board, because I would like one of two things. Either it's a joint meeting between the select board and the DPW, or at best will, most of us, including the board, superintendent, and one specific town employee show up at that meeting. Whether it's an official joint meeting or a non-official, but the majority of us there.
Majority of you there has to be.
Right.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yeah, there's 2 is.
that's a wording issue.
That's fine, I just wanted to make sure.
Either way, the bullying stops now. And that's in this department, that's other departments. I'm not gonna deal with it anymore ever again. And it has to be handled. I regret that we handled it the way we did. But I feel that we handled it the way we did was for the children's best interest at the time.
Right.
And that discussion is for the next meeting. However, I wanted to state a few points so everybody had some stuff to think about for the next meeting, and that's all I got.
Got anything? Future.
And to add to that, I'm hot too, because I've heard, we can't do anything when we're out there. We have to do it the proper way. And we tried to do it the proper way and it bit us in the butt. Now it's our turn to bite butts, and I'm tired of we were voted in here by the townspeople to do a job. And then there's one individual that laughs at us, and it's not gonna happen. I've been here 10 years and I've never had a conflict this bad to have an employee say I'm done if we don't do something. And I'm with Andy. I'm steamed over it, and it's gotta stop. We take care of those fields.
We own them.
We do everything to those fields. We asked one thing and it's like, kiss off. They ain't gonna do it. It's no more. And while I don't care, we'll get the town lawyer involved. Bottom line.
Yep.
And my 2 cents about that, I went out and looked at it, and I spent a little time weeding, because even though the rocks were put in for where people were standing, they evidently didn't put any filter fabric or anything underneath it. I don't know how they built it, but they did I was just gonna say something. I didn't say it.
Shippy job.
They didn't do a good job. Thank you, Blake. I didn't say what I was really gonna say. But I don't want to discuss this. We'll talk about it next meeting. Future agenda item, you have any?
I do, but you can go ahead if you want.
All right, it's just an easy one. But, the town has a municipal vulnerability plan. And I would like the three of us to have copies and be able to discuss it. Again, not to make any changes, but I think we need to have better education about it, and maybe start talking, what does that mean? How does that change, or how does that inform how we make our decisions? If it changes anything. I don't know. I mean, I just think I glanced over it, and I'm not on that one.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No way.
No.
You're not on a committee?
Not on that.
You were.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't. Oh my God. All right, so that's just something I would put on the next or upcoming things, because it's
Not the
actually
next, I'll put it on an upcoming.
it's related to other things that we're talking about anyway. So, all right.
The only thing, I plan to bring a couple changes to the cemetery rules and regs. I've had about a year and a half since we
Right.
went over. We just had a couple of little instances pop up where it's like, you know what, it'd be helpful to clarify these in some rules and regs. Nothing substantial or, big sweeping changes, but just some wording changes we'd like to clarify. So I'll present those.
Ramo, I know what.
I just went on his. This is my turn now.
Okay.
We've
Speak up.
had a snow dump and a sand mounding dump on the corner of Bridge Street and Route 62 for years. I think it's time that everybody comes into the village, into the center of town, and they gotta look at a dirt spot. And I not quite liking it anymore. I've looked at that all my life, and the sidewalk that comes up from Hillside or Reed is all torn apart. It's a big hole in the middle of the sidewalk after the hydrant. That sidewalk used to come up and turn into St. Richard's, towards St. Richard's. And in the time of dirt and stuff being dumped in over there, it was before, I mean, you've dumped there for many years. I think it's time for us to make that presentable to oncoming traffic and people coming into town. I mean, the trees are starting to rot behind it because we just pushed sand, snow and all that stuff. If we're gonna haul snow, we can go another 1.5 miles to the dump instead of dumping it in our hole behind a cemetery or wherever. I think it's time to make that. The granite used to stick up this high. Now you can drive over it. That never used to be a parking lot. St. Richard's made it a parking lot. I think it belongs to the town. We maintain it, we clean it. I think it needs to be shaved down and bloomed, I think, maybe. And
I'll put on an agenda.
and the sidewalk, because when you come down the sidewalk in front of St. Richard's, it goes downtown. But the people got to cross the street to get to that sidewalk to go down to the post office. That's before it came around and they crossed over there instead of going, the sidewalk that goes downtown. As you look tomorrow morning on your rides out, you come out and take a right, and you'll look that the asphalt's gone. That used to be a sidewalk. And there's a big hole there. I looked at it this
In
afternoon.
the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a big hole in the sidewalk. And, people walk down there a lot.
Yeah.
And I just think we need to make that a little more presentable, along with the one behind the fire station in front of, at the end of, I mean, it needs to be shaved down. It's a hump. It looks ugly. I mean, we dumped millings in gravel when we did the project. I think it was the fire station when we built the fire station, and it never got shaved down to water drain off and all that stuff. I just think there's a couple of spots that we can pretty up. I guess they're gonna tear that up maybe, but if they don't, at least it'll look good.
yeah, but even in the meantime.
I mean, it's just a dirt spot and it rocks and it gets all out in the street, puddles and everything. And same with the one over on Bridge Street. It just needs, the trees need to be trimmed and cut up and cleaned, and that whole area needs to be skied out with the excavator and cleaned up. And I just think it's time to make it look good. Because we get calls and make everybody else's yard look good. Let's make our yard look good. No, I'm just saying. I know. I get the calls too.
Oh, I know.
So when you come into town and you see that for years and years, yeah, well, hey, they just don't want to sit in traffic in line getting out from behind the church. They got plenty of parking.
I think they're on vehicles over there.
Yeah, they used to park in Slippery's over there. Oh, can't call them Slippery anymore. Yeah.
Well,
Why not? The only way I know.
I
God
mean,
rest his soul.
yeah, they used to park.
My grandmother called them slippery.
They used to park in front of the light department, because they didn't want to wait that extra 5 minutes in line.
I still don't know his real name. So all my grandmother called him.
Slippery.
Relax.
So
That's all I got.
I got one thing. It's all good. No, it's good. It's not an agenda. I got a great phone call. A wonderful phone call. A thank you phone call for what you guys did on Chase Hill Road, taking some trees down. It was a work order. It got done. It was done well. It was done beyond what they thought it was going to be. They were very, very happy and complimentary on a lot. I mean, it was a nice thing to hear, all right, by people who are somewhat picky, all right? So we got really good marks, and I wanted to share that. Yeah. And she wasn't sitting in a lawn chair. No, it wasn't that. All right.
That's a little.
And the second thing is, I guess we're meeting tomorrow morning. We're gonna do that thing on Justice Hill cutoff. Just letting you guys know we're finally getting it done.
We'll
Yeah.
just go over it again, just,
Right. Okay. So that's it. Anything
Ryan's
else?
tired. He's kicking us out.
Mike's worse.
Mike's work
Why?
right.
Jet lag?
adjourning at
Benefited from that.
8:40.